DrYasapa from Zion Law School. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to talk about the two covenants today. The two covenants. Let people know we're live. So y'all know YouTube does not send out notifications. I checked the analytics for Zion Law School YouTube channel, and 7 notifications, 7 for a whole month. I think it was for the whole month of notifications that were sent out. Only 7 people came to the channel who, by means of notification. Everybody else is finding Zion Law School on YouTube from a web browser. So that means from a Google search, right? So if y'all want to be supportive of your own, show interest in your own heritage. This has nothing to do with what you know, or less than that, what you believe. Nothing to do with that, okay? You just want to express interest or to demonstrate interest in your own heritage. Call somebody, say, hey, DrYasapa is live. Give them the YouTube channel, send them a link. That's the first choice. Second choice, send them a text message. But a phone call is always better than a text message, okay? All right, and I want y'all to remember that the basis of everything that you get from me on this channel comes from Ancient Ibaryath. Without an understanding of that, both me and you will still be stuck up in Christianity, arguing about doctrine and all kind of other stuff. For example, like you see them doing on Sonetta, quote unquote, banging. I and you will still be in that type of mindset. All right? All right? So everything starts with the Ancient Ibaryath. And that should be abundantly clear. When you read Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8, I prefer the Amplified Bible version when I read that because it's written in plain English. You can understand it easy. It's straightforward. All right? So y'all do that, whether you like me or you hate me. Do it for yourself because it has to do with the reclamation of your own heritage, all right? All right? So nobody can't be too small to do that, all right? Second thing, I want to make a request from you. If you're going to come to this YouTube channel, to like the video, all right? I prefer you do it as soon as you get to the video, all right? That way you don't forget and it becomes a routine for you and I don't have to ask. I don't like having to ask people to like the video, share the video, and subscribe, okay? I don't like to have to do that. That should be something that you all do on your own without having to be told. When you come here, this is not entertainment. This is education first, all right? So do for me. I'm doing more than what you're doing for me. The bare minimum that you can do is like and share the video, all right? That's the bare minimum, okay? So nothing is free. There is a law of compensation. You come here and you learn and you do that a couple times. Believe me, that law of compensation is gonna come into effect and the books will be balanced. And if you have not been paying your way, then that's going to be taken from you in one way or another. That's the law of compensation. All right? Law of compensation. Okay? So if you don't understand that, go back and watch. I did a video a while ago, well, a couple of days ago on law of compensation. But there's a lot of information you can read about the law of compensation. Emerson wrote an essay, but it's difficult to understand. But y'all can Google search that, right? The essence of it is, if you're getting something from someone, if you're using something, then pay it back. Pay it back at minimum its fair value, right? Pay it back at minimum its fair value, at minimum, all right? And you have to remember that payback doesn't always come in the form of money, right? And there ain't no money. All right? And on YouTube, there's definitely not even fiat. So what can you do to pay it back? Well, there's a lot of things you can do. Okay? There's a lot of things you can do. Minimum to start is like and share the video. Call somebody and say, hey, DrYasapa is live, but not just me. It could be whoever you listen to on the regular. But more important or more effective than that, with respect to the law of compensation, you can do whatever that person, whatever that content creator asks you to do. You can do that, right? You can do that, okay? Fair exchange ain't no robbery. So I'm teaching you or giving you hints as to how you can activate the law of compensation to work on your behalf just by doing little things, okay? Just by doing little things, because it's a little thing for you to click the like button or the subscribe button, okay? Or to send a text message, hey, this brother's going live. So that's a little thing, right? Doesn't require a lot of energy or effort. It just has to be you being willing to support and being aware of how important it is. So from a content creator's point of view, it's very important. All right? Very, very important. Especially with a channel like Zion Law School that's being shadow banned. All right? That's being shadow banned. And let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you something. All of y'all out there in this religious mindset, all of y'all out here of the mindset that you picked up in black culture, hip hop and movies and TV, where you think that you get yours and don't give anything. That's a mindset that's going to lead you right into the gutter, either financially or in relationships. All right? There is no free, like they say in Asia. No more free. No more free. No more free. Get out. Get out. No more free. All right? There is no free. When you live your life like that, you're intentionally going out here taking, intentionally creating circumstance, situations, whatever, where you're not giving. Basically, you're out to use people, and y'all think that's cool. Y'all think that's cool. That's the way it's been presented in black culture. I remember the first time I ever heard that, I was so shocked. That was about in 2004, 2005. Someone told me it was a black man, right? In his 20s, in his late 20s, told me his philosophy about dealing with women and everything else was to get everything you can and don't give nothing. All right, and then that was the first time I ever heard anybody say that. And then, I guess because I had heard him say it, I started to hear it everywhere. I started hearing that and seeing it everywhere, and I had no clue that people were actually living their lives like that, and that was what was being promoted in the music. See, I never, thank goodness, I never really listened to rap music or hip hop. That's the one good thing I got from my family, to be honest with you. We grew up listening to old music, like music from the 60s and 70s, love songs. So by the time I got to be in my teenage years and my 20s, you know, I like the old school music, you know. I mean, I would go to the club and dance and all, but I never, outside of a club, I never listened to that music, right? And I definitely didn't pay attention to the lyrics. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent again. So y'all, my major point here is start following the natural laws. Law of compensation will support you and give you gifts that you can't even imagine right now, or it will kick you and punish you in ways that you cannot even imagine. And you may be being punished right now, right? You may be in poverty in your relationships with your children, your significant other, or in terms of your lifestyle. And it may be because, or you may be catching all kind of hell, all kind of problems. It may be because the law of compensation is beating you up. All right? But anyway, let's get back to the topic. Our topic today is the two covenants. So what two covenants, right? The two covenants, clearly you should know what these two covenants are on the superficial level. On the superficial level, because all of y'all are in religion. Okay? So you should be thinking the old covenant or the Mosaic covenant and the new covenant, right? And the new covenant. But since we're talking about cosmology, clearly there's something else to it. So what is that something else, right? Again, at the superficial level, Old Testament and New Testament. Cosmologically, what are these covenants? So I want you to think about that, scholar. That's right, I'm talking to you. That's right, you. Don't look around, I'm talking to you. I want you to think about what natural phenomena that takes place celestially. That these two covenants represent. What is that natural phenomenon? And then how does it manifest or demonstrate itself on the earth plane? Okay? Do you all see the difference of what you get at Zion Law School? This is not a Bible study, and it's definitely not church. It is not church. It's not a Bible study. All right? We deal with the natural laws and how they manifest or demonstrate themselves on the earth plane and also in consciousness. Okay? This is more science. Moorish science. The observation and study and innovation, observation, research, and innovation. Okay? And what? And commercialization of technology. What technology? Technology that you developed from your observation and research into the natural laws, into natural phenomena. Do you understand? So when you see these Moors, or let me call them Negro Moors, or even black, I think even black Moors, in a lot of cases, or probably even most cases, you see these black people calling themselves Moors, all right? And, oh, I got a better seat. Let me switch over. I got the better seats. When you see these black people calling themselves Moors, trying to sell you something, okay? They always talk about Moorish science, and they always trying to sell you a package, okay? But they never tell you what Moorish science is. And you can do a simple Google search and find out anything that they're telling you and trying to sell you. Y'all understand what I'm saying? That is not Moorish science. Moors, let me give you a concrete example. When you look at these cathedrals, these Catholic cathedrals, other megalithic structures that were built, that were designed and built by Moors, by our ancestors. Okay? You don't see packages. you don't see packages that they were selling. You see physical or tangible structures, right? And in order to build these structures, they had to have a knowledge of what? One, material science. Okay, you see these huge 2, 3, 5, 10, 20-ton stones. How did they move them? How did they cut them? Right? How did they do it? See, that's more science. Okay, they obviously observed nature. They did research. Okay, they innovated and created some type of machine or gadget. Okay, they probably not probably, but I'm sure they went through some testing and innovation to perfect it. Hi, today, not today. Hello?
Yeah.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. There's a little boy trying to sell me a ticket. Hold on. Yo. Okay, thank you. All right, y'all. So, using science and innovation, they created a tool, equipment, whatever it was that could move those stones, that could cut those stones. They weren't selling people packages. You understand me? So what else? It requires planning and organization. So they had to be able to bring groups of people together. Okay? They had to be able to put a plan together. And then they had to be able to what? Execute that plan. So do you think that they were out whipping people with horse whips? Forcing them to do labor? Clearly not. Clearly not. Because if you were whipping people, forcing them to do labor, they wouldn't create such highly crafted cathedrals and megalithic structures, right? You wouldn't get that. So that's common sense, right? So they had to have what? They had to have a supreme understanding of human behavior so that they could get the best out of the people who were doing the work. Or let me rephrase that, so that the people who were doing the work Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So that the people who were doing the okay, bye bye, son. So that the people who were doing the work would put their best into it, right? This is the psychological part of it. So that people would want to, okay? And it wasn't about religion, all right? That's a whole crock of you know what. When you hear people, these European archaeologists and all of these others who are saying that these megalithic structures were built and their purpose was for religion. No, it wasn't. Or religious rituals. No, it wasn't. The purpose was always the advancement of science. What science? Moorish science. You understand? All right. So, and now you have to think about what? The architecture, the design of those structures. Well, many of those structures are aligned with the stars. We talked about this a couple videos ago. So how can they possibly do that? By mastering what? By mapping out and mastering the stars. To make it easier to understand, they did what? What did they do? They created constellations. Right? So in other words, you can look at what? Pattern recognition. So our brain recognizes patterns. So they created patterns, or they observed patterns. Whatever the basis of those patterns were, maybe it's the energetics of each. I have no idea, right? But they came up with these patterns, and they made those patterns. They connected the dots, and they called one pattern Virgo. They called another pattern Aries. Another pattern, the patterns are just connecting the dots, right? Probably based on the energetics. I don't know because I haven't seen the records, okay? But if you just look at it logically, our ancestors say that these zodiac signs have an energetic effect on us physically, psychologically, and on the earth and all living things. So it just makes sense that the patterns were created based on the energetics. Now maybe there's some other factors, I don't know. But as I continue my education in it, I'll learn. And as I told y'all, I don't pretend to know everything. There's a lot of people who know a lot more about this than I do. And I can assure you that the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. All right? And that's the beautiful thing about nature, because it's always something new to learn. Okay? And what are you doing? You're learning about yourself. You're learning about yourself. Remember, you are all right. Somehow or another, we lost a connection. Remember, as you learn about the cosmos and about nature, you're learning about yourself. I always tell y'all, y'all don't need me. I can accelerate your growth, but I cannot make you grow, and I cannot give you anything that you can't get for yourself. All you have to do is begin the process of reconnecting to nature and then being yourself. Now, I mentioned to you all how to do that. Go outside in nature, take your shoes off, walk in the grass, right? Watch the sun go up, watch the sun go down, sit in silence. All of these things that many of y'all, if y'all tried to do that, might drive you crazy because of all the dirt that you've done in your life. Dirt you've done to yourself that you're ashamed of, you don't want to face, and dirt that you've done to your children, your man or your woman, your siblings or your parents, your work. You know the dirt that you've done, and you know what you don't want to deal with, that you're avoiding. You know that. You know what you've done to yourself. See, that makes it hard for you to reconnect with nature because you don't want to sit there with yourself. Why? Because you don't like yourself. And you don't want to go through the stress, the pain of having to face the man or woman, boy or girl that you really are. Maybe you're a dirty, rotten SOB. Maybe you have been acting out of your lower self. Right? Only you know that. Only you know that. But if you suffer through it, you can turn things around. You can turn things around. All right? You just have to suffer through it. Okay? If you need to, see a counselor. Okay? Talk it out with somebody. Either way, you can do it. So if you find it hard to sit there in silence, don't go blaming somebody else. All right? 9 times out of 10, it's because of you. All right? And then that means that you also have the power to reverse it. All you got to do is deal with it. Okay? Face it and deal with it. So I forgot where I was at now, y'all. Okay. So our ancestors, they had to do the planning, they had to execute the plan, they had to manage the workers, right? They had to develop the craftsmen. All of this is science, okay? Gaining mastery over nature, okay? Innovating, and then creating innovating technologies, and then using that technology to create a machine, to create a tool, right? That you can then use to improve your life and everybody else's life around you. Not the extreme capitalism that you see right now. This is not what our ancestors did. All right, because we were still bartering and using gold and silver. The extreme capitalism is something more modern. Y'all follow me? Something more modern, and something that central banks that are using fiat currency tend to engage in. Okay? Why? Because they can manipulate everything. All right? They got all the cards, and it's not even about wealth. It's about power. It's about power. But let's get back to it. So what am I trying to say to you? You see these Moors who are trying to sell you a package. But they haven't created anything. They haven't even written a book. So what do they know about Moor science? Think about that. What have they produced? Other than going on the internet, watching a couple videos, right? Going to some of these, let me not go there. But then they start trying to sell, or they start a religion. What amounts to a religion of what they see as admiralty, and common law. Nothing more than a religion. They're not producing anything, nothing at all, nothing to produce or create a new industry, no innovation, no new technologies. All right? And if I'm lying, tell me why, since Noble Drew Ali, who was also a businessman from what I understand, and let me make this clear right now. I don't have, there are many, many people who know more about Noble Drew Ali and his life and what he did than I know, okay? So I don't want to step on anybody's toes talking about that, and they might get upset with me, but y'all research it yourself. But he was also a businessman, right? But what Moors since him have been major businessmen, or even attempted or are attempting. I don't know of any. All of them have what? They have followings of people who want to learn what they think is more science and law. Y'all understand what I'm trying to say to you? And that's nothing of the sort. That is not Moors science. Moors create, they innovate, produce tools, technologies, and products. Huh? You return to nature and you'll find that. Okay? So don't get had and don't keep getting got by these fake Moors who always want to sell you a package or want to sell you a writ when they know absolutely nothing about Moor science and what it means to be a Moor. If you're a Moor, at minimum, become a scholar, publish, and then start creating products, services, start innovating. Huh? Start doing good things for your people. All right. Instead of trying to make money by selling writs and pushing our religion. Okay? Pushing our religion of admiralty, commerce, and common law. Most of these people calling them Moors, they don't even have a clue about natural law. Most of them are still Christians or Muslims. All right? And you know this because when the pressure gets put on them, you can see that Christian behavior come out of them. All right? You can see that Christian behavior. I know I talked about the unjust judge and the unrighteous servant. You'll see that. Squeeze them. All right? Squeeze them and see how they react. And then they'll always be able to, they'll always rationalize it. All right? And they're still, many of them, even though they might not admit it, they're afraid to die and they're afraid to go to hell and burn. Still Christians. Still Christian mindset. Still, let me rephrase that. Still in the Abrahamic religious mindset. All right? But let's get back to it. So we're talking about the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. Cosmologically, the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. I want y'all to do something for me. Actually do it for yourself. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go on Facebook and search Hebrew Israelites, all right, y'all? Search Hebrew Israelites. And then from that search, I want you to look at the pictures and search for pictures where Hebrew Israelites have two columns. There's a column to the left and a column to the right. And you'll see the Hebrew Israelite standing in the middle or between those two columns. All right, y'all? Do that. Search Facebook or whatever. It'll either be two columns or two number ones. Okay? Or it'll be two parallel, right? Two parallel something. Two parallel something. A column or the number one. And then you'll see the picture of the Hebrew Israelite standing in the middle. That's representing the two covenants. Okay? This is Masonic. What I'm talking to you about right now is Masonic. Masonic, as in Freemasonry. All right, y'all? Masonic, as in Freemasonry. Masonic representation of something that's happening annually, cosmologically. The vast majority of these Hebrew Israelites who are taking these pictures, they're not aware of this. They don't know that that's Masonic, right? They don't know that it's astrology. They have no clue. They think they're worshiping the Most High and, doing what Hebrew Israelites do. But those at the top of these religious organizations, such as the Hebrew Israelites, the camps, the Hebrew Israelite churches and assemblies, many of them know, but there are some idiots who don't know, right? There are some idiots. But according to the devil's pulpit, look at this big white fish right here. According to the devil's pulpit, almost all, 99% of preachers, pastors, rabbis, imams, etc. are Freemasons. And they're put in place and kept in place to make sure that the people continue to submit. The people continue to submit to the governments or corporations, right? Right? And so that the Pope and the Catholic Church can maintain their position as the vicar of Christ, the representative of Christ on earth. Being that they're the representative of Christ on earth, all land, all flesh, all means the whole, all belongs to the Pope and the Catholic Church. This is how, I'm giving y'all a very brief summary. This is how they steal your birthright, through the papal bulls. All right, now this is a very superficial explanation, but that's the essence of it. All right, and they use scripture, New Testament scripture, as the basis of this. Okay, so you hear about the Doctrine of Discovery, where it says, go take all of the Moors' land, municipalities, titles, everything, take it away from them. And then it's given to the Christian powers. All right? Give it to the Christian powers and their sons as an inheritance. So what does this have to do with everything that we're talking about? Here we go. We're going to get into the cosmology or astrology of it. 1, the vernal equinox, the spring equinox. This is the time of year. This is actually the beginning of the year, the natural year, where you have to work and invest. This is the spring equinox coming in March, right? Constellation is Aries. Constellation is Aries. Okay, so now that all the snow has melted, you need to do what? You need to go out there and what? Prepare the field. Mineralize it. Okay, how are people mineralizing fields? Well, one good way is you can just burn whatever organic matter is there. You just burn it. And then the minerals that are in that organic matter are now gonna go right back into the soil, because you can't destroy the minerals even if you burn it. The ash is the mineral, right? This is why the people in Japan live so long, because they burn their wood or organic matter, and then they put the ashes in the garden. So they still have that tradition. All right, so they have better mineral health. With those minerals, their biochemical reactions are able to run from start to finish, because they don't have any mineral deficiencies, and therefore they live longer and experience less health problems, less illness, okay? Period. So you mineralize the field, you prepare the field, you remove whatever rocks and stones, right? You repair the fence or build the fence. This is all work. Okay, this is all work. Then you go out there and you plow it, right? But in order to be able to plow it, you need to do what? Well, hopefully you got some animals. If you don't have animals, you need to do whatever work you need to do so that you can get an animal, okay? Then you need to take care of that animal, right? So this is all work and investment. And then that animal is going to be healthy and strong enough to go out there and plow the field for you. But if not, you're going to have to do that on your own. Okay, so that's hard work. Imagine if you got a couple acres or hectares. Y'all see, that's real work. That's going to take teamwork. So you have to deal with managing people, right? Planning. So this is no joke. This is a lot of work. All right. Then in the summertime, you got to water it. You don't have water. Let's say there's a drought. Now you got to build an irrigation system. As I said before, if your ancestors already built an irrigation system, you got to maintain it, and you got to, what else you need to understand it, right? So you need to have put in the effort and the work over years to be able to understand the science of it, okay? Or you need to be able to do what? Pump that water out of the ground to irrigate your fields, okay? Or you need to be able to do what? I think the term is cloud seeding. I don't remember. Back in my college days, there were technologies where you could actually make it rain. You can create clouds and cause rainfall. All right? So it's not at the top of my mind right now, but I do know that that technology exists. All right, so that is more science, okay? That is more science, okay? So springtime is the covenant of work. Springtime is the covenant of labor. Understood? The covenant of work, the covenant of labor, okay? Now, there's an illustration that I use all the time. I use the same illustration all the time in these astrotheology videos, okay? So what you're going to see at the equinoxes, we're talking about the spring equinox right here. So what is an equinox? How would we describe it? The equinox, you look at the word, it says equal. Equal what? Equal length of day and equal length of night. 12 hours of day, 12 hours of night. Equinox. Equal length of day, equal length of night. All right, so springtime is when the sun is ascending or springing upward, springing forward, ascending, and it ultimately hits the point where it is exactly at the same degree of the celestial equator. All right. It is at the same degree, or it is what? About to pass over. It is about to pass over the celestial equator. This is the spring or vernal equinox. That's 12 hours of day, 12 hours of night. Everybody understand that? Equal as in what? Equal as in what? Do y'all remember? Okay, very good. Equal as in there is no inequity. There is righteousness. There is no unevenness. No unevenness. There is no inequity. There is righteousness. Unevenness of what? The day is not longer, the length of day is not longer than the length of night. It's not uneven. It is not, or let me rephrase that, there is no inequity in the number of daylight hours and the number of nighttime hours. This is the covenant of work. So if you draw a line from the point where the sun, S-U-N, sun, is at the same degree as the celestial equator, and you draw a straight line to the earth, to the center of the earth, that, my friend, is the covenant of work. And if I remember correctly, this is called Jachin. Jachin. Go back and watch the video that I did on this, and y'all will get all the details on this topic, okay? So that first pillar that I just described is the covenant of work, Jachin. All right? But go back and check that, because I may have the name, these names reversed. Now, when you look at the vernal, at the fall or the autumn equinox, this is the covenant of grace. The covenant of grace. All right, that's when the sun is about to what? Fall or descend below the celestial equator. So at the point where the S-U-N sun is at the same degree of the celestial equator, this is the covenant of grace. The covenant of grace. So draw a pillar from there. That's the pillar of Joab. All right, the pillar or column of Joab. This is the covenant of grace. So what happens in the fall? Every year in the fall, Mother Earth does what? Mother Earth gives her abundant harvest. So why is it the covenant of grace? Because now you got all of this food. You have this huge harvest, hopefully, right? You have this huge harvest. Part of that harvest is going to be what? Grapes. Grapes. What are you going to do with the grapes? Well, you're going to make some grape juice, and you're also going to make what? Some wine. Wine makes the heart merry, right? What are you going to do with the other, like with your wheat and your corn, with your tomatoes and all? Well, guess what? My stepmother used to make something called, I think it was tomato brandy. She would use tomatoes and make some type of, to me it tastes like brandy. It was delicious. I mean, it tastes like an expensive brandy, okay? So you can use the vegetation to make alcohol. And alcohol makes the heart merry, right? Or what about our ancestors who came up with the formula for what? Scotch, came up with the formula for whiskey, let's say like a Jack Daniels. All right. Okay, so now you got all of this abundance. You're feeling good because you got enough. You have enough to make it through the winter being comfortable. So this is the covenant of grace, right? Covenant of grace. Y'all see it? Covenant of grace. So you take these two pillars. You take these two pillars. Now this is Masonic. Okay, you take these two pillars and stand one pillar next to the other and put yourself in the middle. Okay? So you have what? You have the covenant of works and the covenant of grace. The covenant of works is what? The covenant of works Masonically refers to what? The Mosaic covenant, where you have to perform a contract. You've got to perform. That means what? Work. The covenant of work in the spring means performance, work. You got to put the work in, right? The Mosaic covenant says what? Follow natural law. That's behavior, so that's work. It takes effort not to harm people when you might want to. It takes effort and discipline to stay in honor at all times. That is work, my friend. It takes an investment, and you also have to be willing and ready to take a loss to stay in honor. That is work. All right? That, my friend, is work. What else is work? Learning can be work. Learning more science can be work. And let me tell you, you go out here and ask anybody who has a terminal degree or who is self-taught how they learn that. And I can almost guarantee you that they're going to say it was a whole bunch of work and it was a whole bunch of sacrifice and suffering. And I have great respect for self-taught people. Great respect for self-taught people. All right? Great respect for self-taught people. When a person reaches the level of mastery, okay, of some area of scientific inquiry and of themselves, it's reflected in their behavior and their attitude and their speech. This is one way you can tell where a person is in terms of their level of personal development and their understanding of whatever it is that they're studying. It reflects itself in their speech, in their conduct, etc., 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 all right? Okay, y'all. Okay, so now, when you look at these pictures of Hebrew Israelites, not the leaders, but the church members, the camp members, and you see that picture of them standing in the middle of two columns or standing in the middle of two number ones, 11, all right? Or if you see the number 11, now you know what it means. So what is the covenant of grace? The covenant of grace clearly is the New Testament, all right? The covenant of grace is the New Testament. Why? Because you have the harvest. You can have a good time. But what is it beyond that? What is it beyond that? The covenant of grace for the dark priesthood is this. Now we got you in mental or physical bondage, and you working for us, and we're going to sit back every day and relax while you go out here and hustle and work so that I and the people I care about can enjoy life sitting on our butt, not doing anything, because we got you as a slave. And we don't even have to push the system, because we condition you so that you'll push the system. You'll maintain the system for us. Or they go out and then they also hire their minions, right? So this is a covenant of grace. They're living large and not doing anything for it. It's a covenant of grace for them, not you, my friend. Covenant of grace for them, not you. So when you look at the New Testament, who is really experiencing grace? It damn sure ain't you. And it damn sure ain't me, no matter what your religion has taught you. Be honest, you're still under the curses. You're still being punished. And even if you're not the house of Yasharallah, or even if you're not the house of Yasharallah, okay, let's say we're not talking about curses, okay? Have you really experienced grace from this New Testament? Or is that something that you hope for and that you have to assign yourself in your life? Be honest. Be honest. Forget about all the doctrine stuff that you learn, all right? Because the doctrine stuff that you learn is meant to take you to a logical conclusion that they want you to have. Step outside of that. Look at things practically. Look at your life practically. Are you under grace 24/7? Are you under grace 24/7? No, you're not. If you got to get up and go to work every day, you're not under grace. If you got to do anything that you don't want to do, you're not under grace. All right? So is grace something that you get when you do some morally corrupt behavior that they teach in Christianity? Like, for example, the common thing is that you sleep with somebody else's, well, you commit, what do they call it? You commit adultery or fornication. Let's put it like that. Now you need grace, okay? So you're going to get grace. Is it limited to that? Is it limited to that? Morality and ethics? All right? Well, I can tell you this. Morality and ethics has nothing to do with the Mosaic law. Nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. The so-called Mosaic law or Mosaic covenant has to do with natural law, not morality and ethics. Morality and ethics change. You go to a different culture, the morality and ethics are going to be completely different. So now what? You're going to fight with them and force them to adopt Christianity so that they can be forced into living what you call correct morality, what you call correct ethics? No. See, this is the basis of war. All of these Christian wars trying to force people to live out a doctrine, a belief system, and a set of morals and ethics that are not theirs. Natural law is something that is not defined by culture. It does not change, regardless of the culture, the landmass, regardless of the morality or the ethics. Natural law does not change. All right, these are the immutable forces that if you go with them, they help you. And if you go against them, you get harmed, right? You get harmed. And what better way for the Most High, who is you and who is me, to have designed this system? Because natural law will correct. Natural law provides the correction and the discipline that we need to know what honorable behavior is. You understand me? Here's an example. And I heard someone talk about this. When you look at living things, they stay within their own group, right? Chickens like being with chickens. Eagles, well, birds, depending on the type of bird it is. Sparrows like to be with sparrows, right? Vultures like to be with vultures. Y'all follow what I'm saying? Species of fish like to be with each other. They travel together in a school of fish that are just like them, right? Now, there are some animals that are loners, like a tiger. They don't hang out. Tigers, lions, you always find them together, right? You always find them together. Lions are with lions, giraffes are with giraffes, elephants are with elephants. So these living things come together and form a community of their own type. Of their own type, right? Of their own type. And they do what's best for their own. That's natural. You can just look in nature and see that. Also, ants stick together and they work together and they cooperate, right? This mixing only occurs with what? Today. With humans and men. Men, man, woman, humans, we're not the same. That's to begin with. If you don't know what I mean by human, watch the video that I did, all right? With, I think it's the chimpanzee. You'll see a thumbnail, a picture of a chimpanzee and an orangutan. I don't remember the name of the video, all right? Man and womb man, Genesis chapter 2. Human is Genesis chapter 1, all right? Human, monster, although born from the womb of a womb man, cannot inherit land. You think about that. Cannot inherit land. Whereas Genesis chapter 2 says that what? The man who was created from the soil is land. Y'all got it? And he and his ascendants were given land as an inheritance and an estate. Okay, I think that might be Leviticus 25 about the estate. But anyway, in nature, it is unnatural to mix. You understand that? It is unnatural to mix, as much as that goes against everything you've been taught. But let me tell you something. When you mixed, let's say in North America, when you mixed by integrating, what happened to you? What happened to you? Are you better off now? Or were you better off before integration? There's a reason why species should not mix, especially those that didn't come with the original package, if you understand what I'm trying to say to you. Read Genesis chapter 1 and look at the commission, the purpose that the human of Genesis chapter 1, look at the purpose that they were created. In fact, go back and watch that Genesis chapter 1, chapter 2 video that I did. Y'all go back and watch that. All right? So there should be no mixing. All right? All right, so the covenant of grace is not a covenant of grace for you. It is a covenant of grace for those humans of Genesis chapter 1. And also what? For the Raphaim or Nephilim. Both of those groups, right? These so-called elites, who don't have to do any work because they got you as a slave, right? They got you as a slave doing the work for them. You know, a good example of living large and not having to do any work, the banking system. Like, for example, if y'all use PayPal, do y'all realize what percentage PayPal charges just to do a transaction? Now, they didn't do any work. Let me repeat that. They did no work. Now, did it cost to develop the software? Does it cost to purchase the equipment and to maintain it? Yes, it does. But then your cost in there. Your cost in there. So why are they charging? I think it's like 10%, 13%. I don't remember what it was. That's why I don't like to use PayPal. It's ridiculous. Okay? But they can get away with it. Why? Because of banks control all of the nation states, all of the corporate so-called governments. They control it. You understand what I'm saying? They are under grace. Even though in the gospel story, you're taught that you're under grace, right? Where if you make a mistake, you do this or you do that, you're under grace. No, that's BS. All right? All right. So anyway, so when you, oh shoot, what the heck was that? Y'all see that? Is that a rat? I think that was a rat. Or was it a chipmunk? I have no idea. It moved too fast. Anyway, so these are the two covenants, the cosmological or astrological meaning of those two covenants. When you look at the Masonry, oh yeah, that's a rat. Y'all see that rat? Whenever you see an animal that's nocturnal, like that right there, rats are nocturnal. Y'all see that? Whenever you see a nocturnal animal out during the daytime, I'm gonna move. It's out during the daytime because it is sick. Okay? Probably has rabies. Y'all understand me? It probably has rabies. That's why it's out during the daytime. Okay? Let me move away from there. So when an animal has rabies, of course, it's going to behave in such a way that's unnatural, right? It can become very aggressive. Bite you, scratch you for no reason. Look at this plant. Bite you or scratch you for no reason. Have you ever seen a plant like that? They need to clean their plants. But here's the same flower. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? But it would look better if they cleaned it. But there's a main street out here with a lot of traffic, so you see the exhaust and dust on the plant. Yeah, so you got to be real careful. I remember working in an infectious disease hospital. This was years ago, right? And patients would come in, and I was in the rabies clinic. So you're talking about some stress. The rabies clinic is very stressful. Okay, people would come in because they had been scratched by a cat or a dog. So they did some research, right? And the research found that that the majority of rabies cases were coming from pets, not from stray animals, but from pets. Okay, and so what is it telling us? It's telling us that these pet owners, these parents, did not have the dog or cat vaccinated for rabies. All right, so according to the medical literature, rabies is 100% fatal. I don't know if that's true because I no longer believe anything that I learned in medicine, right? I no longer believe it. But that's what they teach, right? So we're in the rabies clinic and we would get these patients coming in. It was so sad, young children who had been scratched by their cat or scratched or bitten by their dog, right? Or even bitten by the cat. Their pet, not a stray animal, their pet. And then the dog turns out to have rabies. right? So sometime between the time where it happened and over the next 13, 15 years, that child is going to develop rabies. All right. And people who develop rabies, just like the animals, they can become very violent. So some of the people and children, we take them up to the ward, and the ward was like a prison. Okay. The ward was like a prison because you go, the patient's room had bars on it. There was really nothing we could do for them. They had like prison bars, and then a normal door so that, let's say you're somebody walking through the door, through the ward, they'd have to open the door in order to see the prison bars. Okay, because these people ultimately lose their mind, they lose their vision, everything goes bad, and then they die. All right. Well, there's that rat again. Shoot. But anyway, kind of got off track. So y'all do me a favor, go back and look at Facebook, search Hebrew Israelites, search it, and then look for pictures of Hebrew Israelites standing in the middle of these columns, or standing in the middle of the number 11, or even look for number 11s. All right, that's going to show you the Masonic presence amongst the Hebrew Israelites. But don't take my word for it. Y'all go do it yourself. All right? All right, y'all. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Islam to all the Moors and Shalawama to the entire house of Yasharallah.